So in this video, we're going to talk about Subnautica Below Zero, and specifically if now is a good time to play this game or now is a good time to buy this game. I am going to be doing a comparison between Below Zero and the original Subnautica, and I'm also going to specifically talk about what you should expect from Below Zero, specifically for players that have played the previous game as well. So I recently played both the original Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero, and at the time of reviewing, Below Zero is feature complete and it's only awaiting one more update to finish the story. Now, the developers have confirmed that saves will carry over, so there's no reason to wait. Now is already a good time to get into the game. There are virtually no bugs and the game is well optimized. There is a screen at the beginning that says you should expect bugs and other things like that. You can completely ignore that at this point. It runs well, it plays well, and it looks great. So in my opinion, it is worth your time and money, even at the full price point. There's really no need to wait for a sale here. At full price, this is basically a AAA game that's sold at an indie games price point. So I think this is incredible value for what it is. So let's talk about which Subnautica game is best. And I'm going to start with players that haven't played either games, and then I'll move on to players that have played the original Subnautica already. So the current game, Subnautica Below Zero, is in a much better state than the original Subnautica was around launch time. The original had loads of bugs and lots of performance issues at launch. Below Zero has neither. That said, the original Subnautica has had a lot of updates over the years, and as I said in my review of the original, right now is the best state it has ever been, and therefore there's never really been a better time to play the original, especially if you want to catch up on the story before diving into Below Zero. So if you haven't played the original, I'd recommend playing that first. There are lots of story spoilers for the original in the Below Zero sequel, so you'll definitely have a better experience with both games if you play the story in the order it was intended. Now, moving on to players that have enjoyed the original, you will enjoy Below Zero as well. I do want to manage expectations though. This is not the original Subnautica. It wouldn't really be possible either because the original was almost completely novel at the time, being the only underwater exploration and survival game with a very unique approach to the open world. So the novelty of that experience can't be recreated, and it's better not to have that expectation because no sequel could live up to that. Embrace the fact that this is a new game and Below Zero does its own thing, and it does that really well. So what has changed? Well, there are a lot of new biomes and creatures to explore. The main character is now fully voiced, and there is even more emphasis on storytelling. Now, this is of course subjective, but I really like the main character and the story itself is great too. There are also a lot of quality of life improvements in the game. So for example, you can now pin blueprints to the main HUD, which makes it easier to keep track of what is needed to build items, rooms, upgrades, and vehicles. Tools also have their remaining battery power shown next to their icons. There are lots of little things like this that just makes the game a little bit easier to play, quality of life improvements, as I said. And then there are also a lot of new things to build, including new tools and vehicles. So some of these have a big impact on gameplay. Others are more cosmetic, but they're also very welcome additions. Personally, I love the addition of the jukebox, which you can link to wall speakers that you can build throughout your base. You can find discs out in the world that you can play in the jukebox. So this is a really cool addition to the game. Then as far as the vehicles are concerned, for the most part, I enjoyed the space truck, which allows you to build modules that you can use to store resources, do fabrication, etc. So it's a bit of a departure from the previous Cyclops submarine that they had in the game. As far as some of the other vehicles are concerned, the land-based Snowfox hover bike was okay. It works, but it's nothing special. The handling could have been better. The land-based sections in general look better compared to the previous game, so Below Zero is definitely improved on that, but the overall experience is still not as engaging as being in the water, so like the original, I much prefer the underwater gameplay. As far as fear and terror are concerned, I found this game to be less terrifying compared to the original. It's hard to say whether that's because it's objectively less terrifying or whether it's because I've recently played the original. To be fair, I find the original significantly less intimidating now, and it could just be that the familiarity of the game is numbing the impact of the game's more scary elements over time. So people are going to have different opinions on this, but for me it hasn't really impacted my experience one way or another. The reality is that if you are scared of open water, darkness, confined spaces, and sea monsters, this will still be an intimidating game to get into. For tips on how to deal with that, you can watch my original Subnautica review where I talk about players that struggle to get into this game and what they can do to sort of numb that effect a little bit to make the game less intimidating. But to summarize this one, on balance, Below Zero is a great game. The original Subnautica is still one of my best survival exploration games that I've ever played, and Below Zero has now joined that list. You should definitely not miss this one. It is absolutely worth your time and money, as I said. And I'm also curious to know if you have played this, what are your thoughts on it? Do comment in the comment section below. And then as always, if you do like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video.